But you know what? As I had other people in my life, I was actually was adopted, and as I engaged with my adoptive dad and my adoptive mom and experienced what family was supposed to be, it healed something deeper inside of me.
At the beginning of the deceptions that Jessa Dillow Crisp perpetrated on the public, there was a well-respected Christian author named Linda Dillow who was introduced to Jessa. This lovely woman had the kind of compassionate heart that we should all have for abused women and children. When she met Jessa, the premise of their meeting was that Jessa was abused and sex-trafficked by her parents throughout her growing up years. Jessa seemed very emotional and distraught, which sealed Linda's belief in Jessa's story. At the time, Linda worked for Focus on the Family, a wonderful Christian ministry that has been an inspiration and support to families and Christians for decades. Being the true Christian that she was, Linda had a great deal of sympathy for Jessa, believing she had been horribly abused. With that, she and her husband adopted Jessa as a part of their family, and even allowed her to call them mom and dad, thinking Jessa's real parents certainly did not deserve that title. Now, this was when Jessa was an adult. They helped Jessa by being a support as she navigated her new life, supposedly free from her sex trafficking parents and free from the other people who had also trafficked her. Linda was there when Jessa met and married her husband, John Crisp. Jessa even used the Dillow name as a middle name, calling herself Jessa Dillow Crisp, which you can see for yourself if you are doing your own investigation and looking up old posts and articles. Linda is also the one who put Jessa in contact with Dr. Dobson, founder of Focus on the Family and host of Family Talk, who did a 3-part series on his show about Jessa's miraculous story of redemption and freedom. Even CBN, the Christian Broadcast Network, featured Jessa's story, showing Linda and her husband being Jessa's mentors and saving her from a life of terrible abuse. They all believed Jessa's story of being saved by Jesus from a terrible life and childhood of horrors.
While there, Jessa was taken in and adopted by Jody and Linda Dillow. She went on to earn her GED, graduate college at the top of her class, and get her master's in clinical mental health counseling.
So when I discovered the truth about Jessa, that she was not sex trafficked as a child, that her family was a loving Christian family, that she was homeschooled, and her siblings were accomplished and well-rounded people with lives and families of their own, her parents were good people, and confirmed with a family member as well as other testimonies and evidence that Jessa's stories were lies, I was very concerned about Jessa. A woman who has deceived to this extent, arranged her life around a huge lie like this, has defrauded people and organizations as she has, is now in a position of counseling real trauma victims, has been involved in studies about sex trafficking that would skew the results, conducted training sessions about sex trafficking, and has taken thousands of dollars in grants and donations under false pretenses, I could only conclude that she has some serious psychological and emotional problems. When I contacted Linda Dillow, I was hoping she could help me navigate this information and help Jessa come to the truth. It was heart-wrenching for me because I thought Linda would be very hurt when I had to reveal to her that Jessa had been lying all this time. But I found that Linda was no longer in contact with Jessa. In fact, after helping Jessa, supporting her, promoting her story, and making her a part of the family, Jessa turned around and bit her with nasty online posts because she was mad about the relationship falling apart. But this dear Christian woman still cared about Jessa and still believes her false stories today. Linda basically refused to look at the evidence I had, admitted she had never talked to Jessa's parents, did not know them or her siblings, did not ever check out her story or research it at all, but she still believed her because Jessa was emotional when talking about the abuse. And she also believed her because experts, and Linda repeated that word to me very clearly over and over again with articulation and volume. Experts, as if it mattered more than the evidence I uncovered. Experts believed Jessa's story. Her therapists, psychologists, and doctors believed Jessa, and therefore her stories had to be true. This lovely lady cannot bring herself to even fathom that Jessa has been lying about all this. In fact, this author was so distraught by what I was telling her, she would not talk to me anymore when I asked her to help to provide me with any information that would debunk my research. Any evidence whatsoever that would show she was right and Jessa had been sex trafficked by her parents. And I find this is the problem when trying to expose lies of people who are very good at telling them. Once someone is introduced to the person with the premise of being horrifically abused as a child, they show emotion and are good at telling dramatic stories. Many times, good people become rightfully emotional. They then make up their mind that it is all true without any evidence other than the words of the fraudulent person. Then, when they are faced with real evidence to the contrary, especially if they have unwittingly invested in the lie themselves, they refuse to see the truth. They get angry at me or any person presenting it and accuse that person of wrongdoing instead of humbling themselves and listening to the evidence or even looking into it themselves with an open mind to find whether or not the evidence shows a different narrative than they previously believed. So that's where we are now. I believe Linda Dillow is a woman of compassion and has done great work in the Christian community for many years. She and her husband have been wonderful examples of what we should all strive to be. But in this case, she is mistaken and unwilling to look at what is true. And this is a clear example of how many others will see the information I am sharing in this series who have invested in Jessa's false claims. And in this process, where does that leave Jessa's slandered parents and family, as well as Bill Gothard and others who have been wrongly accused by her? I wish Linda and the others would think about having compassion for those people who have been wrongly accused and really deserve compassion. Think about how it would feel to have your daughter or sister make a disgusting claim against you like this. Can Linda or any of the others who refuse to look at the evidence even consider their pain? Leaving Jessa to wallow in her own lies and continuing to build her life upon the sandy foundation of deception is not helping her either. Linda and others believe Jessa has been saved and freed. But what has really happened is she has been trapped and caged in a life built on her own foundation of lies. She is stuck in a situation where she can never ever reconcile with her family and all those who loved her, because to do so would uncover her deception. Her husband cannot even meet his in-laws, who are lovely and accomplished people. But Jesus can free her if people around her are willing to learn the truth and refuse to allow her to continue in her deception. The truth really can set her free. I hope you will join me in praying for Jessa, that she will come to the truth and apologize and remedy the fraud she has been perpetrating on others for many years now. Next time, how has Jessa managed to get by with such outrageous and evidently false claims for the last 15 years? Why hasn't anyone discovered this before? We will talk about that next time. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment below. The more you participate in this way, the more people will see these videos. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you here next time.